If your listing isn't compelling, it isn't selling. That's going to be the phrase you're going to hear all of 2025, just like the one you heard about date the rate, marry the house, which that one was bogus and cheesy and hokey. You never heard me say that, and I won't ever say that. But before we get into all that, please like, comment, subscribe, and share all those fun things that really help grow the channel, help you get to know local Wichita real estate and awesome strategies like what I'm about to go over with you right now. So, the thing I really want to discuss with you guys and share with you is listing strategies for 2025 that will actually get your house sold or understand why it's not selling, what's going on with this, and give you a better insight into the real estate market, listing a house, getting it sold in 2025. Because I think what a lot of sellers are coming to find out from 2024 and going forward is that houses aren't just flying off the market like they used to. And we're kind of going back to a normal real estate market, whatever that means, because normal is what is normal anymore. And so much of these situations are so custom based, case by case situation, which I'm going to show you an example to give you an idea of what we're talking about from an overview standpoint of how we help you to get the home sold, understand the market, market your home well, and some of the different things that we go into when you're looking at getting your listing actually sold. And this is probably the best catchphrase to use that'll get you to hone in on this cheesy phrase. If your listing isn't compelling, it isn't selling. And initially, what this thing was titled was if your price isn't compelling, it isn't selling, but it's not always price. So there's a common um, explanation that we help sellers to understand how a listing gets sold because I think sometimes, oftentimes, realtors, agents, salespeople, marketers way overcomplicate this stuff to look all fancy and smart, and sophisticated, and feel important and significant. When really there's just three things that get a home sold, and that's condition, price, and advertising. So those are the three variables that we've seen sell it, get a house sold over time eventually, and then how do we navigate those three things when it comes to actually getting your home transacted off the market and that kind of thing. So the first one is condition. And the reason I bring up condition is because when we say if your listing is compelling, it isn't selling. Because what we've seen in 2024, and we're going to continue to see this in 2025, is a lot of the cute, Instagrammy, like modernized, way updated houses are selling really fast if they're priced well. Like they're going to be priced well too. But those are the ones that we're seeing people still fight over, do all the aggressive negotiating strategies, offering strategies. We're still seeing some of that with the cute houses, essentially. So the cute ones do sell. So if you are going to list your house, it needs to present really well. Staging goes a long way, more than it ever has, whereas previously it didn't as much. And this is the common phrase I hear all the time that makes me chuckle and laugh when people are like, oh yeah, my house is going to sell fast. I just know it will. And I'm like, based on what? Like your emotions, your feelings, your bias, like what makes you think it's going to sell well? Like anytime somebody tells me that, I start getting skeptical and start poking holes in it to be like, what makes you feel it's going to sell really fast? Like, show me the data, show me the house, show me what's going on, because I'm not just taking your word for it. And don't just take a realtor's word for it just because the realtor's been experienced or doing this for a long time. And, oh, yeah, my realtor told me it's going to sell really fast. Don't they all say that? Like, I get kind of sarcastically jaded with some of these things that happen in the real estate industry and some of these cliche phrases that are just nonsense. Because honestly, this is why I went and got my license 9 years ago, is because I've been in construction for 13, flipping houses for 11, and been an agent for 9. And I got annoyed, bothered with all of these nonsense phrases, situations to where I was getting frustrated to sell my own properties of like, why isn't this thing selling? Why can't I make sense of it? Why don't I get it? Why don't I understand it? And I was getting a lot of lip service, a lot of runaround answers, or a lot of just blow off, brush offs. And as I started to learn more about the industry, I saw just how much like smoke blowing there really is that goes on in this industry, especially when it comes to selling a property, taking a listing, or just really just understanding how this stuff works to where it's like most people could reasonably accept if it's a bad situation, but a lot of times people would try to do this like salesy, slick BS approach to try to just like trick you or win you over, think they could fool you. And it's like people are smart, they're not dumb. Like if it's hard information to swallow, just give it to them. So when it comes to condition, assessing the cuteness, the desirability, the beauty of your house can be a very hard thing to assess unless you're an agent who's done hundreds of transactions like I have in my career over the last 9 years. I've done over 400 transactions. It's one of the most important questions you could ask who's going to list your house and who's going to represent you to sell it is how many transactions old are you? And how many recent transactions have you done? Not how long you've been doing this or how much do I like you or what's your strategy? Like how much recent experience do you have with actually getting houses sold? And what's that experience been like? And it's not always just like, oh yeah, I could get your house sold on average in 7 days. It's like, cool, that's an average. Like, but what about when it doesn't sell in 7 days? Like, then what's your plan from my house doesn't sell right away? Because what I'm about to show you in this one that I was going to use as an example is the average days on market was 57 on this one. So it's kind of like this ahead of time, prep your clients ahead of time that not all these are going to sell right away and fly off the market, even if they're cute, even if they're well priced, even if they got good advertising. It's just something you have to come to terms with that houses don't just sell right away like they used to on all that. So the first one is condition. And so the cute Instagrammy ones sell fast. But then the other thing you got to take into account is like, what about when you're selling like your parents inherited house or your house that you were a landlord in, and now it's hard to assess like what it could sell for because it's run down, it needs work. Like this is where I really shine in my house flipping experience because not only can I make you cash offers directly, where it's like, hey, I'll just buy this house from you. Where I've done that plenty of times before, where I just buy it directly from people. I don't wholesale it. I don't BS. I don't play games. I just give you a fair cash offer that works, makes sense. No realtor commissions, no hassles. I just buy it from you directly. So keep that in mind. That's an option. Or if you want to take it to the open market, we can try that route, but it's usually the hardest to assess the value of a house when it needs work, when it's outdated, when there's some undesirable things about it, because there's not really like a appraisal blue book or some formula to follow. It's more just a feel where you got to kind of know what you've seen the houses selling for, investors paying for them, type of home buyer that would buy a fixer upper. Like, how do we not just price that well? But this is where it's not just price, it's also the marketing, the description, the value. Like, how do you paint a picture in their head, the vision of how these people can see the value, even if it's like a rundown house or it's outdated, but it's got a lot of square footage and it's got a garage or a shop. It's very custom case by case, but that's where the art and the skill of a solid marketing and sales agent like myself comes in, that varies from agent to agent, for actually positioning your house well so that it's compelling, so that it sells. And one piece of that is price, but it's not just price, because if it was price alone that would sell houses, you wouldn't need marketers, you wouldn't need agents, you wouldn't need all of these different things. You could just put a price out there and it sell. So price is one piece of the marketing strategy, and it is a very important piece of it, but it's not the only piece of it. You have to get the right pictures, the right marketing description, and you have to really paint a picture and a vision in people's heads so they can see the value of why you're asking that price, why you're coming in on that. And then price, which I'm going to get ready to show you here in a second, is how we help you to determine the price. We don't necessarily tell you what the price is, because ultimately at the end of the day, something's worth whatever a buyer and seller are willing to sell it for, and you can either have the funds for cash or an appraisal to back up. That's what something's worth. And we look at past indicators of success, we look at where the market's at, and we help you to position your property where you want it to be on the market, and then see how it goes from there. And then we make a day by day, week by week assessment of how's it going, where are things at, based on data and science and facts, not based on emotions and feelings. I'll help you deal with some of your emotions and feelings around some of this. But honestly, the market doesn't care about your emotions and feelings. I might care about you as a person, but the market doesn't care about your emotions and feelings. And it's not going to take into account your emotions and feelings around how bad you want this household or what you feel like it's worth. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you have the right condition, you have the right price, and our advertising is doing its job where we're either getting showings or we're not getting showings, that is a message in and of itself too. That's another statistic to measure, is the amount of eyeballs you're seeing online, but then also the number of showings. And if you don't want to adjust condition or adjust price, then sometimes you just got to ride it out for that one right buyer to come through that likes your house, sees the house, values it. And some of that has to do with seasonality, time of year. Some of it just has to do with that market. Like I'll show you on this one. I'll start screen recording and share the screen with you to show you how we pull data. So we pull this data from your specific neighborhood. So like this one, the one is where the flag is at that we are studying this market area. So we pull just from the neighborhood and the area, and we pull all the houses that are similar square footage wise, because an appraiser and buyers are going to look at this specific neighborhood area and say, this is the subject area we're looking at. What are prices generally going for in this area? You know, just from a range of 65 all the way up to these people are asking 155, but just because they're asking for it doesn't mean it sells for that. And Kansas is a non-disclosure state, so people don't have the accurate sales data like an agent does on everything. So that's one of the big defining pieces is we have some of the most accurate data for basing everything off of, and what the appraisers use, the whole system uses. So you might have third-party softwares or other guessers that are kind of just BSing you, but they don't have as accurate of data as what an agent has to base things off of with all this. So when we look at this, we go, here's what prices are generally going for in the area. Then we look at price per square foot, because 20% plus or minus the square footage of the house is the second biggest delineating factor of what you could sell your house for, what it's worth, like how much money, how much house are you getting for your money is basically what people are looking at. And that's where it gives you a better sense of how these things work out on everything. So then it looks at bedrooms, then it looks at bathrooms, then garage size, then condition, then finishes, all weighted in that order, not just from an appraisal standpoint, but also from a buyer standpoint. So this is where we help you to not only price your house, but also understand how to price your house well in the market, because I'll ultimately price it where you want to. It's my job to help you set the price. It's not my job to tell you what the price is. My job is to advertise it, give you prompt consideration, communication, help you set the price, make the most sense of the data, the market, and then understand, like looking at this next data set, this is the 14 from that area that I pulled it from. All of these have either sold in the last 6 months, are currently under contract if they're purple, or they're green if they're active. And this is where I help you study and compare your particular property and say, if you fixed it up, like here's what it could potentially be worth. In its current condition, this is what it's probably worth based on other past sales. And this helps you to really assess, like, if I'm going to sell as is, here's a fair cash offer. If I'm going to fix it up, put 20, 30,000 into it. If you have it and you want to, here's what it could potentially sell for. Very transparent, break it all down for you and to understand it all, just to provide you options and solutions out here to get your house sold, depending on which way you want to go with it. But that shows you how we use data. We use our marketing information to help you understand where to position your house in the market appropriately for condition, for price. And then when it comes down to advertising, that's not something I can entirely show you just based on the way the social media and video platforms work. If I show you any of the personal information or any of that data, they'll take this video down. But part of what we do to advertise is not just put on the MLS like this. It also syndicates out to over 850 different websites, but then we have very sophisticated, advanced lead magnet systems that get us leads to the house, but then we also work those both online and in person. And ultimately, it's also just our tenacity of being available and responsive as listing agents, whereas we run a full-on marketing and sales agency compared to like just your friend realtor who doesn't have enough resources or capacity to actually keep up with everything that's going on to actually get your house sold, not just listed. Because anybody could list a house, throw it on the market, see what happens, but very few of them are actually good at the marketing and sales side of this industry, which is really where the true skill and the value comes in, that goes beyond just having a real estate license on everything. But hopefully this kind of helps you understand better, why it's such an important thing in 2025 to have a compelling case for your listing. Because if you don't have it not just priced well, but also marketed well, it's not going to sell. And like this one that I was showing you, the average days on market was 57. And so one big thing that goes into this is setting the proper expectations up front. Yes, we shoot for selling your house in the first weekend, picks on Monday, on the market Wednesday, showings Friday, Saturday, Sunday, open house Sunday, ideally an offer by the end of the day Sunday, Monday morning under contract. But if that doesn't happen, we got a long-term plan for getting this thing sold too. So most important thing you can do is price it right from the start, because the longer it sits, the worse it gets. That's another phrase that I came up with that one. I don't know if that one's going to catch or not, but it's true. We'll see. But if it's not compelling, it's not selling. That's really the 2025 phrase you want to remember when it comes to selling your house. Appreciate you watching as always. If I can help you out personally, shoot me a message, follow the links below. Check out Wichita, check out real estate. I look forward to talking to you soon. See ya.